Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Thank you very much that I can be here as an agricultural lawyer, because I'm not legal historical, sorry for that. But I can only repeat myself that I will try to do my best. So my presentation is about the possible ways of transferring agricultural holdings in Hungary. So I will speak about the current Hungarian regulation, and I would like to extend some introductory thoughts about it. And when we speak about Hungary, and when we speak about the agricultural law, I would like to highlight that in the subject of the regulation, of the transfer regulation, is the agricultural land. It means not the agricultural holding, which is a unique set of assets, and only the agricultural land is only one part of this asset. So not the agricultural holding is the subject of the regulation, but the agricultural land. But we have some special legal institutions to protect the unity of the agricultural holding when we transfer the ownership of the agricultural holding, but only for special cases. And another aim of this new legal institution in Hungary is to make the transfer of the holding, the transfer of the ownership of the agricultural holding easier. And I would like, so I try to find the connection between today's topic of the conference, which is the legal historic approach. So I would like only highlight one historical aspect. And I am in a very good position because Dr. Zsófia has already mentioned and very detailed spoke about the Hungarian regulation about the fideikommissum. So I would like to highlight this legal institution and my examination. So I was examined this legal institution only from the perspective of the current Hungarian land policy. And I would like to highlight only some aims, some goals which the legislator in the past highlighted in this legal institution, so-called fideikommissum. So today in Hungary, in the land policy, one of the aims is to keep the agricultural holding and the agricultural land in this transfer situation as a unit in one hand. Another aim is the current Hungarian land policy that a person who has competence will be the owner of the land and the holding as well. And the whole regulation, the Hungarian regulation, is against the fragmentation, and another goal is to keep in the family's hand the agricultural assets. And when we speak about the fideikommissum in the past regulation, of course, we already heard about it, that in Hungary has an act which came into force in 1687 about the family fideikommissum in Hungary. And it fitted very well in the medieval times in Hungary. And the purpose of the fideikommissums was to exempt the large estates from the free disposal of the transfer of the ownership. And it means that the founder excludes a certain part of the acquired property from the general succession rules and determines some special succession regime. And it means an undivided succession, and also places it under the prohibition of alienation and encumbrance. And the other thing what I would like to highlight is that the main asset, so the object of this fideikommissum was the land, and other assets, other elements which are serving the the economy. So it means, for example, economic equipment. And that's why I highlight this legal institution, because when I speak about the definition of agricultural holdings in Hungary, I already mentioned that it means the agricultural land and with the other movable properties, immovable properties, other equipments, and the rights and the obligations, which means a whole unit. So this is the agricultural holding. I can say that it's a little bit similar from this perspective. And we already heard about it, that in Hungary was a reform of this fideikommissum in 1936, and I would like to highlight this act only because this act made it possible to create a small holding of fideikommissum. And this act make a very interesting restriction, because only the person who has special skills, who has the profession, who is engaged to agriculture, can be a small holder of fideikommissum. And I would like to highlight these rules because it's very important in the current Hungarian regulation as well. But now I would like to speak about the regulation in Hungary nowadays. So we have a very new legal institution, but it's very interesting why we need this legal institution. I already mentioned it's new. It means it came into force. We have a new act which came into force in 1st of January 2023. But the basic is that during the Hungarian regime change, it was very typical that the farmers who acquired land ownership as a result of agricultural land auctions established agricultural holdings, and nowadays they are farming at this agricultural holding. It means that the regime change was approximately 30 years ago when we counted the years. These farmers are at the moment very near to the retirement age. So the legislator has the task to help them to transfer the ownership of the agricultural holding to the next generation. And this new act will facilitate the generational change in Hungary. Because when we doesn't have a very special regulation about the transfer the ownership of agricultural holdings, it's very difficult to make it. The reason why it's so difficult is because we have a land transfer regulation, so it doesn't have a holding transfer regulation. It means that we have some very strict restrictions for the acquisition of ownership of agricultural lands, but we didn't have any strict regulation for the transfer of ownership of agricultural holdings. So it is very necessary to facilitate the generational change and make a new legal institution, and we are here. So it means that we have a new act, I already mentioned, from 2021, but it came into force in 2023, and this make the possibility to the elder farmer to transfer the ownership of the agricultural holding, the farm, to the next generation. And the two main aims of this act is to facilitate the generational change, and the other is to keep the holding in the hand of the family. So it means it's not a special succession rule, but I would like to highlight that in Hungary we doesn't have special sui generis succession regulation for the agricultural holdings, but we have some rules, some special sui generis succession rules for the agricultural lands. It's not so coherent regulation, but already we have some sui generis rules. So this new legal institution, the so-called farm transfer, means an inter vivos institution, and it facilitates the generational change. And the main aim of this act was to lighten the administrative burdens, to make the farmer easier to make this decision that I would like to give the ownership of my farm to my son, for example. But when I speak about the farm, what is the definition according to the act of the farm? It means what I already mentioned, the agricultural and forest lands, of course owned or used by the transferor, and with other immovable properties, other movable properties, rights in rem, sharing the assets, and rights and obligation. This together means the farm. And when I speak about this new legal institution, farm transfer, it means a farm transfer contract. So it's a special legal institution which has 4 types. And the farmer has, so the so-called transferor, farm transferor can decide which one he would like to use. The farm transfer sale contract, or the farm transfer gift contract, or the farm transfer maintenance contract, or the farm transfer life annuity contract. But he can use these contracts in a mixed way as well. So who can be the parties of this contract? It can be, we need a farm transferor and a farm transferee, and both the transferor and the transferee must be primary agricultural producers or individual entrepreneurs engaged in agricultural and forestry activities. And the transferor is the person who has reached the age limit of retirement or will reach it within 5 years. And the transferee is under 50 years and at least 10 years younger than the transferor. And another very important condition, that the transferor must either be in the chain of relatives of the transferor or must have been employed with the transferor for at least 7 years. So not only a family member can be a transferee, but when we have an employment relationship between the transferor and the transferee at least 7 years, it will be okay and good. And a very important restriction is that only one person can be the transferee. This is one of the main goals of the Hungarian land policy, that the land and the holding must be and has to keep in one hand. And I think a very important other and a very good possibility according to the Act, it's a cooperation period. So it means that the parties can make in this contract a cooperation period, which can be maximum 5 years. It means that the transferor and the transferee will jointly operate the farm. So it means it's one thing to transfer the ownership of the holding, but the other thing is to transfer the knowledge. And this period means the knowledge transfer. It means that the transferor will teach the transferee how to manage the farm. And when this cooperation period comes to an end, after that, so the next day will be the transferee, the owner of the holding, and he or she replaces the transferor in the civil law contracts without the consent of the third party remaining in the contract, and the transferee replaces the transferor as the holder of any prior authorization required for the pursuit as well. I would like to highlight another new Hungarian act, which is the Act on Family Farms, and it's, as you can see, from 2020, And it's very important because the family farm in Hungary means a production community. So it's not a legal entity. It doesn't mean the unity of the assets, which means the agricultural holding. So it's only a production community. But when we speak about the agricultural holding, it means that the members of this family farm, the so-called family farm of primary agricultural producers, will be manage the farming together, but the definition of this family farm is a production community established by at least 2 primary agricultural producers who are relatives of each other, having neither legal personality nor assets separate from those of its members, within the framework of which the primary agricultural producers conduct their agricultural activities collectively on their own farms, based on the personal contribution of all members and in a coordinated manner. This is the definition of a family farm, but I would like to highlight it's only a production community. And when we speak about the family farm, it means that there is a farm, and the transferor, the farmer, would like to transfer the ownership of the farm, and the transferee must meet the condition of the family farm as well. So we saw the definition. It means that the transferee has to be in a chain of relative with the other members of the family farm as well. So it's very important, and that's why I would like to highlight this new act. And when I speak about the conclusions, so I think this farm transfer contract is a very good opportunity. It's a very good step to a classical agricultural holding regulation in Hungary. When we speak about the transfer to agricultural holding, the farmer, the owner, the transferor has an agricultural farm, but he has the opportunity to transfer only a part of this farm. But so he has the right to free to define what belongs to this farm, and he can only a part of it transfer to the next generation. But he cannot continue his agricultural activity afterwards because he will be deleted from all the registers. So it's very interesting because the Hungarian legislator would like to keep the unit of the agricultural holding, but this act and this regulation make the possibility to transfer only the part of the agricultural holding. But it's very good because typically it's between family members, this contract, and it reduces the administrative burdens. And I would like only highlight that in the past, when we spoke about the fideikommissum, we have seen a very special, strict succession regulation, and I think which keeps the holding together in the family. I would like to highlight only this special succession regulation because I think the idea of having a special succession regulation for the agricultural holdings, it is very good, and it's very important in Hungary as well, but I think we need a coherent sui generis regulation for the succession of agricultural lands and holdings as well via a new act. So of course it's very different at the fideikommissum, but the idea to have a special succession regime. It's very important for Hungary as well. We have some special rules for the succession of agricultural lands. I think we are in a good way, but we are not in the end of the way. So the farm transfer contract is one of the tools that can keep the agricultural holding in one hand, and another tool can be a special sui generis agricultural holding succession regulation as well. So I think it's very important to keep the existing and well-functioning farms together, either between living persons or in the case of death as well. It could be a worthwhile objective for an economic point of view. So thank you very much for your attention.